Hey there, this is a bit of a different vlog. I would like to give a bit of commentary and give my point of view about motivation and discipline. I thought about this when I checked out the most popular devlogs on YouTube and realized that most people who create devlogs start with 1 to 2 great devlogs, and then their passion after the initial rush of dopamine seems to vanish and all the motivation seems to be gone, and you never hear something about their ambitions and game ever again. So what is the problem with staying committed over a long time? We have now pushed our own project for more than 12 months without funding, while pursuing full-time jobs, and not even 1 week where we skipped a devlog after we started pushing them out on a weekly basis. So we must do something right? On the other hand, I have to admit, I sometimes really feel the exhaustion and was wondering if there are any good tips in keeping the ball rolling. Since I was very interested into this, I spotted a couple of Reddit posts about the topic which got tons of upvotes. I did not like all of the posts, but some were really good. But now let's start out with one of the posts I disliked. How to stay motivated as an indie developer. It had plenty of upvotes, but when I read it, I did not agree with some of the listed points. I especially disliked the following, and while I feel it sounded very passionate, I felt like it was a really bad advice. Go all in. In his post, the OP said he quit his job for a stream to become a game dev. Seriously, there are so many videos out which tell you that even if you finish your game, you most likely won't earn any money. We all dream about the big dollars. It can happen, but why would you risk your whole life for the small chance to be one of the lucky ones? I would interpret go all in completely different. Yes, I think you have to go all in, but only in a way that won't hurt you financially. And earning no money will definitively hurt you. Go in with your free time and don't quit your job. After probably 6 months, see if you're having progress, and maybe if you want, reduce your job to 80%, but please don't quit your job and completely ruin your life. I think instead what you got to do, in the words of Elon Musk, is work like hell. Do your normal job and then do 20 hours additionally. This is how we are doing it. Is it only fun and passion? Hell no. It is super exhausting. But what if we fail? Pretty much nothing. I will just go back to my normal life. But what if we succeed? Perfect, then I have new options, but before that, please don't go all in and completely screw over your life. So the big question is, how can you combat the exhaustion by basically working 60 to 100 hours a week? Well, there was also another Reddit post, and I really liked, in comparison to the first one, this one. It was titled, How to Make Games When Life is Busy and Complicated. And this is how life is currently for me, with a full-time job and lots of social obligations. The post started out with a bit of backstory about the OP, and in comparison to the first post, this guy had already published some games, and it felt like he knew what he was talking about. His first tip was, get your spouse on your side. Well, this point only makes sense if you have a spouse, right? But in general, I really agree with that. I started our dev journey solo and am now in a partnership. Being in a partnership sometimes is tricky in terms of time commitment to your game, but if you talk about it with your spouse and she gives you the time you need and even starts cheering you on, that feels like magic. There were tons of days where I felt unmotivated and my girlfriend cheered me on and said, you guys can do it and stuff like that. Also, she watches my devlogs, so even more reason to stay motivated and give her a weekly show. The next big point was, remember, creative work makes you a better person. And I can only agree with that. When I started with Kingsblood, I was really feeling down. I was locked in last year due to one of my co-workers having COVID and really had the urge to do something constructive with my life. Well, Kingsblood is sure as hell the most creative outlet I've ever had in my life. So, OP claims creative work reduces anxiety and depression. I cannot comment about that too much as I haven't read the trials he had linked, but I just know before I started I was kind of stressed out, and now despite having a much fuller schedule, I'm feeling pretty good and driven most of the time. Gradually wean yourself and your family off of most passive entertainment. I think that is totally necessary. If you want to create a game, you cannot come home, relax, watch TV, play games, and do that every evening. You need to discipline yourself and work on the project regularly. For me, creating the devlogs is the biggest help in that regard. I really want to present something every week, so I'm basically forced to do at least something. Of course, this is tough, and of course I crave sitting down and playing games instead the whole evening or watch a cool Netflix show, but if you decide to go all in, you at least have to bring in a set amount of effort. For myself, I try to bring in at least 15 hours a week. Often it is more, but I think I had maybe only 1 or 2 weeks where I did less than 15 hours. The weekends, though, are blocked. I usually don't work on the weekends, or at least not the whole weekend. Work with someone. And this is probably the most important tip for staying motivated, and I often feel without team members, this journey would long have been over. Best part is that my teammates are really good friends of mine, so this makes the journey of course much more enjoyable, and it is really so cool to see if someone programs a new system and you know you get closer to the finishing line. So all your teammates, everyone in our team gives motivation to each other. So I really am full of awe in relation to all the solo developers, but I feel if you have the option, get some people you like and do it together. Nothing more important for motivation than this, if you ask me. Restrict distractions. This point was especially in regards to social media, and I also agree with that, but I have to say I'm very bad with following this advice. YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, you basically crave the feedback and want to know how people like your game and if you're in the right direction. It's also an indicator if you will ever earn any money or not, if everything is in vain. And you need these tools to show your game to the world, but you can easily get lost in there. Also, if you post something on one of the platforms and you think it is really great, and you should always anticipate that probably no one cares. We had a lot of videos and clips where we thought this is awesome, and then we posted it and no one cared. So it is really dangerous to get demotivated by social media. But yeah, restricting social media is something I really have to work on myself, as it not only has the danger of demotivating you, but also has the tendency to take a lot of the time you would else invest into implementing the game. Alright, there was one more point: get out of debt and reduce expenses. And I feel you should never get into debt due to a game. Seriously, you should never do that. If you don't have the money, then do something smaller. Just don't do it. Don't quit your job for creating a game which will probably fail. So this is just too dangerous. Talk to people about your project. Yep, this is also great advice. But don't talk with everyone about it. This was something the guy from the first Reddit post also recommended, but I think it is wrong. You should instead be selective. Share this passion with people who might be supportive, but not all of your co-workers or relatives might be interested in such a thing. I would be a bit more selective with whom I share my passion and what I'm doing in my free time. But what I do is I tell a couple of people in my personal life what I'm doing, and of course it is always a fun talk, especially if they find out that it's not all empty words, but you have something to show. And you can also talk with people online, and their feedback, like always, will give you a lot of additional motivation to keep on going. If you can do it, even try to create a community. I would love to do this for ourselves as well. We have some people in Discord, but unfortunately, while we have a Discord, there is not much action yet. We hope this changes when we got our first playable demo and people can report about bugs and maybe bad written dialogues, stuff like that, so they can get some involvement. And what I totally undervalued was the next point: make a minimum viable game. Yep, this is what we realized much too late and what we are currently pushing hard. Only with that you can get people to really interact with and who can give you real feedback. So this is currently our main focus. Also, you need it to get the feel how your main loop feels, right? If you don't have a minimum viable game, you always can only wish that your game is fun, but you will never know it. So like I said, this is one of our main priorities to finish such a thing. And last but not least, take care of the machine. And this is probably not the most important point in terms of motivation, but the most important point for everything, right? If you work like hell, things will get exhausting. No, not all is passion, even if you start with that illusion. We were super passionate the first 2 months. Everything felt like a dream, like you were on drugs. But after a while, what you need instead of passion is discipline. Bringing up discipline to a degree is of course stress. People cope with stress differently. But I myself, for instance, tend to eat, so I got a lot of weight. And this stresses me even more. So what I'm doing currently in terms to reduce my stress is taking the weekend off, like I told multiple times before. And I do a lot of runs and walks in the evening. The more often I do it, the easier it is, and it reduces so much stress. So in the last month, I've been walking 250,000 steps, which is quite a lot. So yeah, try to do some sports and care for yourself, or you're really in danger of burning out. So always value yourself higher than the probable success of the game. So yeah guys, that's it. Bit of a different vlog, but I still hope you enjoyed it. If you like our project, then subscribe to our channel and wishlist us on Steam, and see you next week. Goodbye.